New Hampshire Democrat dilemma and distractions, and yet another week in politics. Last night was the Democratic primary in the state of New Hampshire. And though Bernie was able to eke out a win, it certainly wasn't the big decisive win like he had over Hillary Rodham Clinton just 4 years ago. He ended up splitting delegates with Pete Buttigieg, and Buttigieg himself had a great night. And Amy Klobuchar, coming on in third, is making it very viable for her to be somebody's VP pick. But before we get to all of that, let's talk about one of the distractions that the Democrats are now raising, because they want you to get your eyes off of their implosion, their meltdown, their problems, and now they have found something new to go after President Trump over. Roger Stone, longtime confidant of Donald Trump, and one of the people who really put Donald Trump in a frame of mind to actually consider running for the office of president and then eventually making that decision to run. I actually know Roger. I have interviewed Roger on my radio show, and I asked him, what was it that you saw in Donald Trump that you said, that guy could be president? Because remember, Roger Stone's worked for everybody. Nixon, Bush, Reagan. I said, what was it about Trump that caught your attention? And he was very simple and direct. He said, I looked at Trump and said, he could win. Boom. There you go. What's the point of getting in a horse race if you got a nag that can't cross the finish line? And so Roger Stone, of course, was found guilty by the Mueller investigation of lying to the FBI. How many people have lied to the FBI about all kinds of things and nothing's happened to them? Why, I'm even thinking of former FBI directors that have lied continually under oath, and yet they're out there doing book tours and speaking at colleges. That said, the night that Roger Stone was arrested and they took a full SWAT team into his house. Now, let's be honest. Roger Stone is not necessarily the nicest of individuals when it comes to, he is the professional political dirty tricks guy. But let's not act like none of the other candidates have guys that do that kind of stuff for them either. They all do. And Pete Buttigieg is proving just how dirty and nasty politics can be with how he finagled things in Iowa. That said, Roger Stone is now an old man. They took a full SWAT team into his home to bring him into custody, like they did with Paul Manafort. But with Roger Stone, shazam, Batman, an entire CNN camera crew just happened to be outside his house to catch it all on video to make the evening news cycles. And then, of course, they threw the book at Roger and then some. President Trump tweeted out, wow, 9 years in prison, that seems just a little excessive. The Department of Justice said, yeah, these sentence recommendations, this is way, way over the top. As a result, the 4 prosecutors have resigned. And immediately, now Democrats are screaming, aha, President Trump has interfered. He's interfered with the sentencing. Shut up. These so-called prosecutors, these 4 that have resigned, these were Mueller people. These were deep state, Democrat, Republican, establishment, swamp dwellers. That's all they are. They were there to protect the deep state. They were there to protect the establishment. They were there to further the narrative of the coup against Donald Trump and Russia, Russia, Russia. So, as far as I'm concerned, it is a great day that they have resigned and a lot more draining of the swamp going on. But of course, Democrats are out there now screaming, it's retribution. President Trump is going after the whistleblowers and he's going after witnesses now that he's got to be stopped. He is well within his constitutional rights to hire and fire. And by the way, nobody fired more people that they felt caused them problems than the Bill Clinton administration at the directive and the insistence of one Hillary Rodham Clinton. So there you go. The president continues to drain the swamp, and there could be a full-blown pardon waiting in the wings for Roger Stone. We'll have to see. That said, on to the Democratic debacle and the Democratic dilemma post-Iowa and now post-New Hampshire.
Joe Biden, he's the man with the Biden touch, a creepy touch.
Joe Biden, like the coward that he is, cut and ran. He didn't even bother to stay around for any of the vote counting. He hightailed it out of New Hampshire mid-afternoon and went down to South Carolina, or was it North Carolina, to launch his Southern Firewall tour. Yeah, okay. He obviously knew he was going to lose. He lost badly. He came in, what was it, 5th? But what about all those people that worked for him, volunteered, knocked doors, signed people up, did everything that they could to show their support for him? He couldn't stick around and say thank you. He couldn't go to the party and just shake a few hands, give a little hoorah. Hey, thanks for hanging in there with me. No. He cut tail and ran. Now, people are wondering, how could this happen? You know, the polls had him out as the front runner. Why, for months and months and months, he was the front runner. And then something happened. He opened his mouth. See, all the polls had him way up till he actually started campaigning. And then it became apparent he was one walking gaffe after another. And it was very apparent he's got dementia or some other problems, but I'm thinking it's dementia. Not just not knowing where he is, but easily irritable, combative with his own people in his own town hall meetings, pushing people, telling them to go vote for somebody else, telling them, hey man, you don't know what you're talking about. Telling these stories about, when he was a lifeguard and, dealing with black gangbangers named Corn Pop, and he liked putting his legs in the water and little kids playing with the hair on his legs. I mean, it was just like creepy. And then all the video clips of him sniffing people and, the way he really encroaches on, in particular, female personal space. It wasn't going to happen. Besides, Joe Biden has run for the presidency before, and he's never gotten anywhere. He's never been able to muster enough support to ever really get a campaign rolling. So I don't know what it was that they thought was going to be so different now, other than it was the Democratic establishment's strategy. Aha, we roll Joe Biden out and it'll be, let the good times roll again. We're sending a message to everyone in establishment Washington. It'll be back to the Obama era. The problem is young people ain't having it, because for some young people, he wasn't progressive enough, that being Obama, and certainly on the Republican side of things, we ain't having none of it either. So this wasn't going to go anywhere, ever. And then we get the entire Ukraine, which was designed to take out Trump. This is the brilliance of Adam Schiff, and he ends up taking out Joe Biden. Because everything points to Hunter, which actually points back to Dad, because let's face what Hunter is. He is kicked out of the military for being a drug dealer, washed up, nothing, scumbag who gets strippers pregnant and has to pay out money and child support. And he's not smart enough to even work the graft that he was involved in with the Ukraine. All fingers point back to Daddy. And by the way, isn't it interesting that Joe Biden became a multi-millionaire, not just from marrying into it with his wife, but he became a multi-millionaire when he became point man on China. So while he's playing footsie with China and doing things to make life nice for China and getting payoff for it, China was hacking into the Pentagon on a daily basis, hacking into our Fortune 500 companies in this country and stealing our trade secrets, stealing our patent designs, stealing. But hey, Joe was making money, so it's okay. Senator Grassley, go after Biden. He's corrupt. Don't let him wander off into the wilderness as a doddering old dementia man, because at some point it's over for him. It really, I mean, his campaign is over. He's like one of those bodies laying on the table that the spirit has left, but now the organs just need to shut down. It's over. It's done. It's finished. He's dead man walking now. Joe Biden is done. Now it's time for justice to be served. Well, apparently Andrew Yang couldn't do math. That's right. The guy who was always talking about, I'm really smart, I know how to do math. Well, he couldn't do the math to see his way. He didn't have the support that was going to be needed to become the president. About the only thing that he could campaign on was, hey, I'm going to give every American $1,000. Now that said, are there some issues that he raised that have to be taken into consideration? Yes, the continual automation of jobs does decrease the need for people working in manufacturing. There's no argument there. That has been actually going on since the 1970s. Also, again, Teamsters and all of you union members, when it comes to the transportation, are you going to let corporate America decide, hey, we need driverless vehicles? Hey, if we can't allow jet planes to fly by themselves while hauling passengers, we can't let unmanned vehicles on our highways. Get working on that legislation to stop any of that idea right now. Exert a little bit of authority there and make it happen. So while Andrew Yang raised a couple of issues that do need some consideration, at the same time, it is this thing called progress. And sorry, Yang Gang, you're not going to get your wet dream fantasy. Andrew Yang cut, ran, he's done. Elizabeth Warren comes in 4th place and people are shocked. Why? Rhode Island, it's part of New England. Why? The part of Lower Rhode Island where she should have done so well. I'm sorry, New Hampshire. I get all these New England cluster mixed up. She should have done so well there. After all, they get their news from Boston. Yeah, you don't think that they know what Elizabeth Warren's all about? For crying out loud. Let's get real here. She is an unmitigated, unabashed, unashamed, delusional liar. She's not Indian. Her DNA test made her look like a complete buffoon. So you have Pocahontas, who is not a Pocahontas. She has been caught on video lying about she was relieved from her teaching position because she was a pregnant woman, and that would have never happened to a man. And then we find out in previous videos that she was offered the job repeatedly and didn't want it. No, she would rather use affirmative action to declare herself an Indian and put her way through school for free on the taxpayer's dollar, thus denying a true Native American a spot in that college, and then using her so-called Native American status to get herself through the bar and as a tenured professor. She's a real peach. And people figured out what an abject liar she is, and the fact she couldn't give any type of coherent answers on how her Medicare program would work or how it would be paid for. So, bye to Pocahontas. Now, Bernie Sanders, I won, because we're going to take out the most dangerous president of the United States, Donald Trump, because tonight marks the beginning of the end of the Trump administration. That was what Bernie had to say last night. But Bernie has been saying about Iowa, about New Hampshire, that if we're going to beat Donald Trump, we have to have record turnout. Record turnout. And you're not having record turnout. He killed Hillary by 20 plus points in New Hampshire. And he beat Mayor Pete by what, 2.5 points? It was not a big night for Bernie. Now, he's spinning it. Hey, a win is a win. You know, I coached basketball on the varsity level for over 20 years, and I'll tell you that whether you beat your opponent by 15 or beat them by 1, a win is a win, and you'll chuck it up in the win column and you move on. But he knows. He knows. Now, they were touting last night on CNN and PMSNBC. He had an event today that drew over 7,000 people. Okay, Trump has that many waiting outside the building that can't get in. And Bernie was only able to do that on a college campus where he was simply the front man for a rock concert. The kids were there for the music, not for Bernie. Nice try, though. But, of course, you have some of them over at CNN and PMSNBC. They're drooling. They're salivating. They're saying, but look, President Trump, he only got 85% of the vote. Bill Weld is cutting in. This is what they're trying to get people to listen to and believe. Okay, let's get straight here. Donald Trump won in his incumbent cycle a bigger primary victory in New Hampshire than George Bush or Barack Obama. Donald Trump is well on his way to re-election. And as far as Bernie, he's got to be getting nervous that the wagons are circling to take him out. And the establishment is going to get behind Pete and Amy. Well, for me, it's been a toss-up. Would it be Pete? Would it be Amy? I was leaning yesterday and thinking that the Democrats were going to set up Amy because, after all, Pete is a rising star, and you don't want to take out your rising star against Trump because, in the end, the DNC knows they got nobody that can beat him. They've got nobody that can beat Donald Trump, not even Mike Bloomberg. He is damaged goods, and he's already a sinking ship going down. But as I've been thinking over the past 24 hours, Amy had a good showing in New Hampshire. She got a good bump. But do they really want to set it up that 2 election cycles in a row, a woman loses to Donald Trump? Does it indelibly put a message on the minds of the American people? America's not ready for a female president. Do they want that picture? Do they want that image? They know they can't win. What they're hoping for now is maybe, because Pete Buttigieg has proven he can rally Hollywood. He not only had Kevin Costner out there campaigning for him, but Michael J. Fox blew into town and did some campaign stumping for Mayor Pete. So he's got the Hollywood connection. He's got, I've told you this before, he's got charisma. And I've said to you in some other monologues and some other videos, he's dangerous. He's dangerous. Watch my video assessing Mayor Pete when he was on The View. He is dangerous. Need to watch that video. That said, Mayor Pete just might be able to pull off enough dirty tricks to make it a contest. He has shown, this is a guy, you remember now, he is the son of an avowed, professing, proud Marxist communist. See, Pete Buttigieg really is as radical as Bernie. He just knows how to showcase it better. He just knows how to sell it better. And that might become more appealing now to the Democratic establishment. So I think what happens is they realize to take Bernie out, they've got to unite that Pete and Amy vote. And they've either got to talk Amy into stepping out, which she's not going to do, but promising her the VP chair. And I think if they merge Pete and Amy together, they can focus, they can go after Bernie, sayonara to Bernie, and then it becomes Mayo Pete versus the ultimate male president, Donald Trump. Gee, Mayor Pete up there kissing his man after a debate. And then Donald Trump having Melania come up on stage and giving her a kiss without having to say a word. What a contrasting image that sends to America. It's about to get good. Hey, that's it for this rant. Don't forget to watch my video about the dangers of Mayor Pete. I'm telling you, don't underestimate this guy. Don't just think, he's a failed mayor from a small town. He is a political cutthroat. He is a political cutthroat. And behind that smile, he will take out anything that gets in his way. He is dangerous. You need to look that up. Give us a thumbs up and a like. Make sure you smack the bell to get notification of my next rant. Check the word all to ensure that you get notifications, and make sure you're a subscriber.